Yeah, so I've added a few tags, paragraph tags here, so you all can understand what's going on. So guys, here I have two CSS classes with me. So we can add two CSS classes inside one element by adding space. So if I just write your class, the name of my first class is div bg. So I'll just write it down here. And the name of my second class is color bg. So I'll just add that also. So now if I save this and I save this, so if we get onto our website here, so as you all can see that I've got the two colors here. Like let me just take some color which is visible on brown. Yeah. So guys, as you all can see that we added two different CSS classes to this P tag. So all the both classes have been applied, that the background color being the brown color and the text color being the black color. So that is how we add multiple classes. Like I can add one more class into it, and I'll just add a random class here. Dot font vg. Yeah. So if I add this also in the first CSS class, this is font bg. So I'll just add a space here and I'll just add font bg. So now as you all can see that the font size has also increased here. So you can add multiple CSS classes inside one element. It's absolutely fine. But if you all avoid doing that, because see, we can add all these CSS classes in one and just send it over in form of one CSS class here, because this increases the code length and it also has a bad impact on the code readability. So that if you have all your elements of one tag or one division, then it's proper, like you can do that. But if you all try to break it up so much, then it's of no use. You cannot even reuse it again and again. So it's highly recommended that you just select a division and add all the CSS properties regarding to it inside one CSS class. So this was okay. It's back to normal now since I removed these classes. Now I'll go back to the PPT here. So as you all can see that they like it tries to say that whenever a space is added between the two classes, it means that there are multiple classes in it. That's it. And here it's showing that here it has been given an ID sidebar and it has a few CSS properties added to it. And inside it, we have an element which has a class author. So it will not inherit the properties, but it will add the properties which it has on its own in the P tag. Like if there is a color called black inside the author tag, and in the div tag, we have the color as white. So the black color will be actually implemented in the P tag because it's the class given inside the P tag. And here about multiple classes, I just gave you all a demo that we can add multiple classes by just adding space and giving the name to the class name in the parameter. So this is just a screenshot of some CSS here. We are well versed with what CSS is now actually. Like you all can definitely read it also now. Okay, one second. Is there any, okay, one second, we didn't add the important tag in div bg, but it's still overruling. Okay, one second. We didn't add the div bg and it's still overruling the ID one now. I just explained it now that if an element is there and it has its own class or own CSS properties, then it will not inherit the properties of ID1. So that's how, yeah, okay, you got it. Is there any precedence of classes? Element has two classes and both classes. Yeah, so Antriksh, this comes into the precedence part where if I have classes with two same names, like I'll take a simple example here that if I have a same class known as color BG, and if I have properties now as color is equal to, let me take some other color, different. Yeah, cyan, and I'll just add important to this also. So out of both of these CSS properties, this property will be given more priority because it's in the name cascading style sheets, that it is cascading downwards. So whichever CSS class name is there on the later part, the latest one, that will be implemented. So wait, it's color BG, right? I'll just add color BG here. And now if we check, so as you all can see that the cyan color has been implemented here. Instead of, we had black here, we had black above and we had cyan below. So once we try to implement it, the cyan color has more preference because it was written on the latter part. So if we have classes with same name, but we add different properties, then the class name which has been written later down will be preferred. So just make sure that you all have your class names defined or named differently, because this happens a lot of time that people write the same class name multiple times, the same name, and then they're not able to see the changes they wanted on the website. So Antariksh, does this solve your doubt? If you could just let me know in the chat. Okay, I feel he's not there, so I'll just continue. Okay, what if they're named differently and both are passed into the element? Then also the precedence comes into picture, that if I have two different names, like I'll just name it different. The any class which is written the on the latter part, like in the sense which is written later, will be given precedence. The properties will be inherited from that CSS class. So I'll just do it again. One second. So one second. Yeah. So as you all can see that the blue color has been inherited here as well, like the aqua color, because here we've added it after color BG, and before this it wasn't inheriting the aqua color because we had important written here. So if I remove important from both sides, like both the tags, then it will inherit the aqua color here. Okay, wait, it disappeared. One second. I'll just see what. Okay, so we added important somewhere else here. Wait, yeah, did see this important matters a lot. So try to write it in all the codes. Yeah, see now it's acquire. So just keep in mind that whenever you're using important somewhere, so if even if the code is written above the part, but if it has an important tag, then it will only inherit the part where important is given. So keep that in mind. So if you ever want to debug that why your CSS is not being applied, then you should search for the important tags so that you get a clear idea ki what exactly the CSS is not being added on your site. So, so if I'm using two IDs in the same key, it's not using any. Okay, I'll just check. One second. It's not using any, so you're not getting the CSS you applied visible on your p tag, right? That's what you're mentioning, Aman, if I'm right. The doubt. I'm using color and background in both. Yeah, okay, so I'll just do it here. This is the kind of query you're saying, right? This is the two IDs you've created, and now I'll add the ID inside. Okay, here. So, Aman, I'll just show it to you, that ID here by adding the two IDs. This will not work actually because ID needs to be unique, and you have to have only one ID per element here or per HTML tag. So you cannot add two IDs in one, but if you add one ID here, like a single ID, which is unique, so it will show the changes you want. So I think these were the changes. Yeah. So the color has been implemented and the background color has been added. So you cannot add multiple IDs, but you can definitely add multiple classes. That's one of the main reasons that the ID is chosen over class, because you cannot keep on adding different IDs. Like you cannot add multiple things. Then you have to add all of your CSS inside one ID itself, which makes it very difficult. Yeah. One second. So guys, does anyone have any query regarding how we have to use classes and ID, like any demo you want to see or something of that sort? Because there are many CSS properties. Like I'll just show you all the cheat sheet. One second. Just hold on a second, guys. Yeah. So guys, this is a website. I generally use it as my CSS cheat sheet. I'll share the URL in the chat as well as on the group. So this CSS site has all the CSS organized in the alphabetical order from A to Z. So these are the properties here, and these are the selectors here. The selectors which we have done are very basic, like you will definitely see them 90% of the times, but there are 10% other selectors which are used. So you all could just click on selectors and see all the type of selectors you all want here. That we did ID, then we also did this one, class, and we did the normal tags which we did, like the HTML tags. So that now let's move on to the properties. Like guys, these are all the properties you'll ever encounter in CSS here. So it's not possible for me to teach all of these, but I've selected a few which are frequently used, and I'll explain it to them. Explain it to you all. And for example, if I want to see what exactly object fit CSS property is, so I'll just click on it, and it gives me a definition first, that what exactly it does. And it has one of these 5 values. Like it also tells you what kind of values it has, and this is the syntax given here. They've also given the code snippet also, like a demo kind of thing, where they show that how the CSS actually works. So this is one of the best resources I have regarding CSS. So you all could just go on this site and randomly select any. Even if you do 2 CSS properties per day, you will definitely get over it fast. It's very easy. Like some properties are just the parent and children behavior. Like see the scroll behavior. There are different scroll behaviors here, scroll bar behaviors. So you all could do that. I've added the link in the chat, so you all could just see it. So yeah, now we will go on to our first CSS property here, that is width. It is one of the most important properties, as it helps to make your site mobile responsive. Generally, HTML is not mobile responsive from the beginning. So we have to make it mobile responsive so that it could be used as a web app, or you could just create like if you know React, then you could just create it into a crispy, like it's a technical term, crispy application where you just have a home screen. It acts like a app only, but it's in the web format. So width is very important. So basically it defines, like if you go in the technical definition, the padding property in CSS, which defines the innermost portion of the box model, creating the space around elements content and inside any defined margins or borders. So I'll just give you all a quick example here. So where is the site? So guys, as you all can see that this image is only occupying this much space, and I'm sure that this image is not on its full width here. So let me just add some CSS to it and show you how to add the width. So since I have declared a class here, I'll add this class inside my image tag here, and I'll just name it image1, like what we named it there. Let me just confirm it. Yeah, it's image1. It's image1 here. So guys, if you all can see that the image has gone to its full width here, it's occupying 100% of what it can occupy. So I'll just show it to you all. In the mobile responsive version also, it's occupying 100% of what we want. So it's occupying its whole 100%. And here the syntax is width, and you can add it percentage wise, like 100% of the actual width of the image. Like if the width of the actual image is 800 pixels, then the width will be 100%, that is 800 pixels. But if we have 25%, then it will only occupy what 200 pixels. So I'll just show it to you all. As you all can see that it has shrinked back again if we added the 25% width size. If we do it 50%, then it will occupy half of the given space here. So as you all can see that it is occupying half of the given space here. So this is not only applicable on images, but you can also apply it on these divisions here. So if a division is there and currently it's occupying 100%, so if we wanted to occupy only 50%, then we add the CSS to it, width is equal to 50%, and we just add it to the division class name. So now here, apart from percentages, you could also add it in pixels. So if I just add 100 pixels, so the width will be 100 pixels. Like it's very short here, but it's 100 pixels here. So that was the width tag for you all. So if anyone has any doubts, they could just write it in the chat regarding width tag. Guys, is width tag clear here? Tag no, like property. Okay. So, okay, 1 second. Let me just minimize this. So you all just saw the syntax here. We define the class name and we define the width here, whatever width we want. And now the second property is background color. I'm sure most of you all are now familiar with the background color property. It just adds the property, the background color, to the element you select. So before moving ahead, any tag you see, like this is the P tag, right? So P tag has a whole section or division allocated to it, given by the HTML part itself. So if I hover over it, as you all can see that it has its own padding, it has its own margin. I'll get into what exactly is padding and margin, but as you all can see that it's a whole division out here. So whenever we apply CSS, even if it's a H1 tag or a P tag, we can still add background color to it because it's a whole element. It's not just the text written inside it. So that was just a heads up. So now I'll just move ahead. and add background color to any. So I'll just, yeah, and guys, one more thing, like if I want my site to be uniform all over, so then I'll just add the background property, background color, and I'll just choose black if I want it in dark mode or something. So if I just go now, the whole site has been converted into, the background is converted into black, because as I told you all that the body tag contains all the elements which are displayed on the browser. So the whole background is black here. And if I want that it's visible, like whatever text, so I'll just add the color white so that it's contrasting. I'm not getting what, so I'll just add beige. So guys, as you all can see that all this text is also visible here, but here it's not visible. It is not inheriting from the parent because we have added special classes here, unique class inside the element. That's why. But we haven't added any classes here, so it just inherits all the CSS properties we've added inside the body tag. So this was one part. Yeah. So does anyone have any issue on background color? Guys, any queries regarding background color? Okay. So guys, one more addition to background color. I don't know if you all are familiar with the uh, thing called gradient. So gradient is a special background color type in CSS. So I'll just give you all a demo that you all just see this background color, and it looks nice, right? If you have to give a black background, then this looks very nice. So I'll just show you all different types of gradients. So if you want to add background colors as these, like these look very nice, so I'll just click on this, or I'll just copy the CSS part. I'll just get into my CSS here, and I'll just add it in my body tag here. So it gives you two properties by default. One is background color and one is background image. So guys, this linear gradient basically defines the three colors mixed together. Like here there are two colors, but in a gradient generally there are three colors. So it just shows you the degree here, like the amount of degree which it has been added, and the percentages of both the colors inside the gradient. So I'll just show you to you all. Yeah, so as you all can see that this gradient was not that good. I'll just take some which is visible properly. So guys, as you all can see that three colors have been added here in the gradient. So yeah, so guys, this gradient is much more visible. Like it's clear that we've mixed two, three colors. So this is how you can add gradient. All these gradients are available, whatever you want. So you could just select any one of them according to your theme and just paste it on the background color part. So that was background color. Now moving on to color. Color is also the property which gives the, send me the link for that. Okay. Yes, I've added the link in the chat, guys, so you all could just explore what exactly is gradient. So even you all are well versed with the color property, it gives the color to the text and the text decorations inside any tag. So we can either use hex code or we can also use the given name, like named colors by HTML. So you can do that. You can also add RGB, like if you all are well versed with art or something. So you have something called the red, green, blue spectrum, where you can get or extract any color using the red, green, and blue color. So all the RGB keys and the hex codes are available on the net. So you all could just search for CSS color palette and you will get all these hex codes and RGB patterns. So do you all want me to give you all a demo for the color property, or should I go ahead? Okay, I'll just go ahead. Like this is important. So guys, margin is basically a property which defines the outermost portion of the box model. Like we can call this box model here. So margin, I'll just show you all a demo first so you all understand it better. Let me just add a few divs here. 1 second. Yeah, so we've added, let me just add some background color here so it's more visible. Let me just change the gradient here. It's not. Yeah. So here basically margin is the outermost portion of the box model. So here the first division has margin added to it, the width of like margin from all the sides, and it is 40 pixels. So margin basically adds space here. So if you want that there is additional spaces on all sides in your division, then you should add the margin tag here, the margin property, so that it adds uniformly 40 pixels of space on all sides. It's not like you can add only all sides. If you want that, you want to add specific margin either to the left or right, the direction, whatever you want. So we have margin top, margin bottom, left and right. So we can add these margins also. So margin is basically adding space towards the outside, like the element does not get affected, but space is added outside the element. It's like a cover to the element. But when we know about padding, so padding is basically similar to margin, but it actually gives space inside the element. It gives you the space inside the element. Like here, the element, it covers the element from outside, right? Here in the padding part, it covers the element from the inside. So this width here is 40 pixels, whereas the width from this to this part is 40 pixels. So that's one of the major differences in padding and margin. So I'll just show you all an image representation that, see, this part is called margin. The margin is 20 pixels on both sides. So this distance here is 40 pixels, whereas this distance is 20 pixels and this distance is 20 pixels. It is not messing around with the height or width of the image here. But if we go into padding, so padding, inside this padding, it is affecting the height and width of the image here. So you need to make sure that if you are using padding, the content inside the division does not change, because see, it is changing the height and width here. So it can hinder or mess around with your mobile responsiveness, because if you've given 25% of width and you add padding, so the width automatically increases. But in margin, if you do that, the width does not increase. It just increases the white space outside the image. So that's one key difference between padding and margin. So you have to keep that in mind, that when you have to use margin and when you have to use padding. So this was the demo for margin here. The div 1 is margin and the div 2 is padding. You can use both together. Like I'll just show you all. I'll just add some margin here so you all understand that we can use both together. So now, as you all can see, that it has added a uniform margin between all the sides, and it is what, 20 pixels. Yeah. So it has added a margin of 20 pixels here. So it has not affected the length or the width, but it has just added a white space here. So that was the difference between margin and padding. So do you all need a demo, like more information over like margin and padding? Like do you all, or you all are cleared? You all have any doubts regarding this? You all want me to explain it ahead? Okay. So now this is font family, the next CSS property which we are going to learn. So font family, basically you can add different kind of fonts inside the HTML file. See that this is the default font and it not looks that good. So we can add any custom font we want. So the syntax for that is I'll just add it in the body tag so it gets implemented on all the parts. No, wait, I'll just make a different class and I'll just show you all the difference that how the font thing works. So guys, these are some built-in options which I get from HTML. Like I'll just choose Times New Roman or whatever. So if I choose this, and the name of this class is font fam, right? So I'll just implement it in one of the H1 tags so you'll get an idea. So now if we check the H1 tag here, as you all can see that it has a different kind of font here. Wait, I don't think so it's been applied. I'll just check it once again. Let me take some weird font so that we can know the difference. I think this should work. Oh, I don't know why it's not. Let me just write important here. Yeah, so guys, the change is not visible here, like we could just see here, but if you all can open inspect element and check. So here the font family is this Tribute MS, what we've applied here, what we had written in this code here, as you all can see that we've added that only, this Tribute MS, and it's visible on this CSS part also. And if we check H2 here, the H2 tag, so as you all can see that this has the font family as quicksand. So that means it has been applied properly here. I don't know why the change is not visible. I don't like, I feel the change is there, but it's not that visible. So the font is changed in this manner here. So now moving on to the next tag here, that is opacity. Like opacity is one of the most important tags because sometimes there are divisions and images which need to have some opacity there. So instead of editing the image or the div color or whatever, we just edit the whole div using opacity tool. So I'll just add it here on this section, the colored section here. So let me just add the. So if I write opacity as 0, then I think the whole div will be opaque, like it won't be visible. So I'll just add it here once and I'll just check. So guys, as you all can see that the whole div has vanished here because we wrote opaque as 0. So it actually hides the whole section here. But as you all can see that it has left the spaces here. And as you all can see that I can select here, like my cursor here is of the select type, like I can highlight something here. So that is the opacity tag for you all. Like if you all do something of like if you tweak around, so you could just do it 0.5, so it will be half transparent and half untransparent. So as you all can see that this opacity is gone to 0.5, so it is barely visible. So that's how the opacity tag works, or the opacity property works. So you can make anything opaque here. So like if you have this image and you want to make it opaque, so I guess you could just add this opacity demo tag to the image here. There is the image. Yeah. So I'll just add space and add the class name. So as you all can see that this image is also opaque now here. The opacity is 0.5. So we are able to see only the half of the image here, like the in terms of transparency. Yeah. So this ends the CSS part now, guys. So before starting with Bootstrap, like Bootstrap, we are just going to see how we can set up Bootstrap, and we will just make a demo landing page, which consists of a navbar, a carousel, and a few more elements. So before starting with Bootstrap, I would just like to I'll let you all know that CSS part ends here. And if you all have any doubts, you all can let me know. If you want me to go through some CSS properties again or whatever. Guys, you all want me to go through any CSS properties or something? No, all clear. Okay, cool. So I'll just move on with Bootstrap. Just wait for 2 minutes. Let's begin with Bootstrap. And if you all could just code along with me in Bootstrap, that would be nice, because you all would get a hands-on experience that how actually Bootstrap works. And we will make a small landing page so that you all have actually done something which is not this pure HTML stuff, but it also includes JavaScript. And like, you all won't be coding the JavaScript. Bootstrap will do that for you, but you will do the HTML and the CSS part. So let's begin with Bootstrap. I'll just share this URL in the chat here. So you all could just open this site, getbootstrap.com, and come on the documentation page. So this is the first page which is shown when we enter the Bootstrap. So the first thing is that we need to make sure to link this style sheet, as I showed it to you all yesterday, that this has external sheet linking. That is, someone has already written the CSS for you, and you just have to define or add the class names inside your CSS properties. So you have to copy this and add it in your header tag. Similarly, you have to add this JS files. Don't get into what exactly is inside the JS files. You just have to copy it and paste it above your body ending tag, like your. I'll just do it for you all. Or wait a second. You all just do one thing. Directly get onto the starter template here and copy it and take a fresh index.html. I'll just remove all this and I'll just paste the starter template here. So if you all could just do that here, take the Bootstrap starter template and make a fresh file and add it here. So if you all have done this much, like till now, adding the starter template to the index.html, then just write something in the chat that you all have done or you all have reached this point where you all have just taken the starter template and copy pasted it on the Visual Studio. Done. Okay. So now your site will look something like this. Okay. We were not expecting something of this sort, but something better. So now let's just make it better. So firstly, I would just want to give you all a small explanation that what exactly is row and columns. So for that, I'll just give you all a small demo on Adobe. One second. So this is, let's just assume that this is your, sorry, damn, one second. Yeah, so let us just assume that this is your web development screen, the area given to you for web development. So whenever we see something that is called a row, then it is something of this sort, like it starts from the margin and it goes till here. So this is defined as a row here. Like let me just pull it here. Yeah. So this is one row, and this has 12 columns inside it. Every row has 12 columns inside it. So one, two, three, like that. They have 12 different rows. So whenever you want to visualize what exactly is a row inside an HTML, or when you use Bootstrap, then imagine that. Let me just delete this. Yeah, so let just imagine that this whole part is a row, and then there are 12 different columns. So like if you want to add two things in one row, so you will just have two columns of 6 and 6 each. Like this is 6 and this is 6. So you can add your content here. Like if you want to add a paragraph here, you can add it here, and you can add a photo here if you want an image here. For example, if I show you all the portfolio website, if you all have seen that we have added about me out here and we have added the image out here. So that is how we go around using row and column. But see, if there are, what tool is this? This is Adobe XD. This is just to explain it to you all. This has no relevance to the course. This is just for a visual representation that how actually a row works and what are columns. So these are two columns of 6. So you can have 6 columns of 2, 2 with each, like the columns of size 2, and likewise. So let's just go ahead. So guys, there are these different packages here. So you all could just read it in your free time, what exactly is, how can we download and all that. But first, come on the layout part in Bootstrap. I'll just send in the URL of this also. So first of all, we have the containers here. So containers, you all could just read the basic definition here. Okay, what exactly are containers here? And these are some responsive breakpoints. So let me just explain what exactly are responsive breakpoints. So if you must have seen that there are websites which are mobile responsive. So here there are different queries for different type of devices. Like if the device is of size medium, or if it is a small device like landscape phones or whatever. So like we have to add CSS within these queries. Like if you want that the user is going to only use it on a phone or only on a desktop, then we use these media queries to make sure that the CSS out there is applied. So let me just give you all a demo. So I'll just copy paste this URL, like this media tag here, and let me just get back to the old code. Yeah. So if I add the media query here, and I add image is equal to the, not my word, width is equal to 100. One second, I just need to import the image one tag here. Yeah. So guys, if you all can see the website here, now it's 100% still. Let me just add some CSS here. One second, image. Yeah. So guys, originally the CSS we added was showing that it is 50% here. So let me just show it to you all that it is 50% in width here. So guys, as you all can see that the width out here is 50%, right? But if I change it to a mobile console here, so as you all can see that the same CSS is there, but the width has changed to 100% here. So this is how we use media queries, where we just have to add the device width here, that if the width goes beyond or is below this, then this CSS tag should work in this property. So that is how we applied media query here, media query. So this was just a demo, like, so you all know what, like, you all don't get scared when you all see this part media. It is of something of this sort. So now show the code once. Okay, yes. So this is, wait, I'll just copy paste the image tag here. So yeah, you get up. Yeah. So this is the image tag here for normal desktops, and this is the image query here for devices like mobile phones. So these are the two differences here. So we can tweak the code accordingly we want, that if we want to show the user the width 100% in the phone, but we only want to show the width as 50% in the desktop version, then we use this. So did you see the code, Aman? Okay, cool. So let's move on to the components part. So guys, as you all can see that there are a lot of components here. Like there is this badge, breadcrumb, buttons. So like let's go on the button section here. Let me just first add the starter template for the demo. One second. Yeah. So here. So guys, as you all can see that we have different kinds of buttons here. So what I have to do is I just have to copy this code here. This belongs to the first primary button. When I copy this code and I paste it in my body tag here. So if I go on the browser now, as you all can see that this button has been added here without actually writing CSS or anything. We haven't added any CSS regarding the primary color or whatever, but it still shows up. So that's how the bootstrap part is used. I'll just show you all other components. One second. Like we have a nav bar. Let's start with a nav bar. So this is the first kind of nav bar we have, which is provided by the Bootstrap framework. This Bootstrap is basically a framework, guys. So it provides you with a lot of different options in terms of nav bar. So if you want different types of nav bar, you all should just come in components and you should just go to the nav bar section and get it. So I'll just take a colored nav bar so that you all understand what exactly or how it exactly works. So let me just copy the navbar once. And let me just add the black color here. Yeah, guys, so as you all can see that this navbar has been added here. It is added in this format because we've taken container fluid here. So if I remove that container fluid, then it will work properly. Let me just comment, or wait, let me just add a column here. So now as you all can see that the whole navbar is been utilized here. So in that way, we've added navbar here in our HTML part without actually adding anything like adding any CSS or responsiveness. And if you all see the mobile version of this navbar, it is responsive here. I'll just minimize this. Yeah, so if you all can see that this nav bar is also responsive and it is working properly out here. So this is how you add elements or components inside your website. So like if you feel like adding a carousel, so let me just add a carousel here, or jumbotron. Let's add a jumbotron. So if you want to add something of this sort inside your code, so let me just copy this here and I'll add it inside my code. One second. Yeah. So guys, if I refresh now, so as you all can see that this part has been added to our website here, this Jumbotron. So we could add all types of components inside this Bootstrap. Okay, I missed. Okay, so from which part did you miss, Aman? The nav bar. Okay. So basically what we have done is that we went to the components section of the Bootstrap documentation. We went to the nav bar part and we just copy pasted the code out here for the nav bar here. And once you copy paste that, you can just change this navbar light, BG light by the color you want. Like in the sense, Bootstrap has inbuilt these three colors for the navbar. You can add your custom colors also. That's not an issue. But here the navbar color is dark, right? So navbar dark, BG dark. If you copy paste it there instead of the light one, so you will get this navbar out here. So that's how we did the navbar part. And now we added a Jumbotron here. Jumbotron is basically something which greets the person and it has a button here to learn more. So it's added here. So like I just copied the code and I just pasted it below this div here, like when the column MD12 ended. So this is how we add Bootstrap components. Like there are the components like cards. So if you all want to add cards, you all can go ahead and add the cards. Then see guys, we were working on forms, right? So our forms were the default HTML forms which we used. But if we get into Bootstrap, we have different options to utilize or make the forms better. So I'll just show you all how a Bootstrap form works. So guys, as you all can see that we've got this nice looking form. The form which we used as the pure HTML part, they were not that good looking. So here this forms are also used. The text area is given, the drop down is given. All kinds of things are covered here. So this is just basically how you can add Bootstrap to make your site look better. You of course you have to add the CSS according to the theme or the work or the project you have in mind, but this is the basic layout given by Bootstrap to all the CSS users. So let me just add one more element here. So there are model window here. So model window basically does what, that if you click on the button, it shows you something of this sort. So if you want to add something of this sort in your website, so you just have to copy paste a code and just add it to your website here. So I'll just add it somewhere out here. And once I refresh, as you all can see that this model window has been added here. So if I click on this model window, this thing will be added here. The model title, whatever title you want to give, you can give. And this close button and all the buttons are also working fine. So this is how we implement Bootstrap into our HTML CSS without actually having to code CSS for it. You just need to have proper HTML tag knowledge. As you all can see that we are familiarized with the class part, the ID part, and we are also familiarized with the button tag, the HN tag, the div tag. So you can start reading codes like these before actually getting into what exactly is Bootstrap. I just cannot, like, Bootstrap requires a lot of practice in general, because for now, like, I've been using Bootstrap for a while now, so I just don't copy paste the code, I just add the classes here. So you all must have seen me typing column MD12. So this is a CSS class here, in which the column is of 12 like the row is of 12 columns. So you get that by practice. So once you start using Bootstrap, you automatically start getting the class names in your head. So for example, if I have this thing where it uses utility HR, like p tag. So if I just do it class text center, I've not actually written any CSS in style.css, but if I save this and I'll just, I go to this part. So as you all can see that it got center aligned. So you get a proper knowledge of these classes or CSS part once you start getting into Bootstrap. So you all could just go to the first page, take up the starter template here, and just start messing around by adding all the tags or all the components one together, like all together, one by one, whatever you all want. Just start messing around, get familiarized with the Bootstrap, because 90% of the times Bootstrap is only used in sites, which I'll show you one of the sites which we've made in Bootstrap. The Tequila web app is made using Bootstrap only, guys. So if I show you all the code here, so as you all can see that we have container fluid here, we have row here, we have column MD12 here. All this is being, see, as you all can see, it is being inherited by the Bootstrap CSS here. So 90% of the time people use Bootstrap because it has already written all the CSS required, and we just have to define the class name so that there's not much workload in adding the CSS. So guys, that's an end for Bootstrap as well. Like, and now I will just show you all that how you all could just add stuff to the portfolio website and make it your own website. So I'll just, one second, portfolio new, yes. So I'll just run this site. One second. Yeah, so guys, as you all can see that we have this site here. So you all could just change the logo here, like you all could just add whatever your name is or whatever. Then the education part here, you all could just learn, like write it down what you all have learned and stuff. Then here, these are my skills. So you all could just search for the logo, whatever skills you all are well versed in, and just add the logo here. I've used image tags only here, as you all can see. One second, I'll show you all the code. Yeah. So guys, as you all can see that I've used the image tag only, and here I've given the source. So you all just have to change the source here to add the logo of what expertise you all have. So and these are the projects here. So guys, you all know what exactly a tag is, right? So you all could just add the anchor tag in the anchor tag between the button, and so that if anyone clicks on the project, they get redirected to your GitHub, or if the site is hosted somewhere, then they could go on the hosting part. So that is that. And about this contact us part, you all could just add an image of your choice out here. And for the submit button, I'll try to give you all an open source code so that you all could just have this functional. Like, I'll probably give it to you all on the group in a week's time, that if someone enters the name, mobile number and email ID, they get an email that they have been like, you all will get in touch, like something of that sort, and you will get an email that this person wants to get in touch with you. And here also we've used a tag, you all could use, and link all the social media accounts you all have. So that's an end for the session here. Now I'll just show you all how to host this website free. So guys, you all have to go to netlify.com. So this is a free platform here. So you all have to go on netlify.com. I'll just send in the URL on the chat. Yeah, netlify.com. You need to log in here. Like I'm already logged in. If you all have to create an account, then you should create an account. Then you all should go to sites here, and in the sites you have to come here exactly. And now just open your file here, like whatever the GitHub folder I told you all to clone. Just show you all how it's done. One second. Yeah, so guys, as you all can see that this is my main folder, and inside that I have my index.html and style.css. So what I will do is that I will just drag this down here, and I'll just drag this portfolio new and add it here. So as you all can see, this is uploading the site, and this will host your site. So guys, as you all can see, the site is active now. So this is the URL for your portfolio website. So if I open this link in a new tab, as you all can see that this is live on the internet now. And this is how you all can host your website. If it has HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, if it has a backend, then there are different procedure to host a website on Netlify. But if it's a static website which only has HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, then you can do it that way. So does anyone has any queries regarding the hosting part? Like, please show again. Acha, okay. So what you have to do is you have to, I was looking at the website. Okay. So you have to go on, like you've logged in Netlify, Aman. Have you logged in inside Netlify? Okay. So you could just create an account. Okay, so you just have to drag the folder which has all your files and just add it here. So it will deploy your site and give you a URL here, something of this sort. So that's how you can deploy your site. So guys, that's an end to the whole session. So if you all have any queries regarding the session, or if you all are doing web dev on your own, and if you all are stuck anywhere, then you all can definitely ask me for help. So okay, so drag the folder. That's it. Yeah, you just have to drag the folder inside this area, and it will automatically upload your website. So guys, that's an end. So if you all have any queries, or if you all want some good Udemy courses, you all could just ping me on Discord or WhatsApp. I'll just, okay, how does CAP system? Okay, so basically CAPTCHA, like see, there are a few things called a Selenium WebDriver and a bot. So generally people do what that okay, how can we create one for human verification? See, I don't know the process of how to create a verification captcha, but there are different ways in which you can verify a human by asking the human to enter an OTP, or maybe asking the user to log in through a email link, like a link provided to them in the email. But whereas the captcha system is there, the captcha system is added so that no bots can attack your website or get through the form, because there are multiple bots you can use using Selenium WebDriver, that you could just mess around with someone's website. So that's how the captcha system works. So I'll send you the resources to create a captcha system on the group, or you could just DM me on the Discord or WhatsApp. I'll just send you the resources. But it also depends upon the framework you use and all that. So it's very subjective, the captcha part. Okay. So does anyone has any other doubts? Yeah. Thank you, Unnati. No doubts. Okay, guys. So if you all, the session was great. Thanks. So guys, I will be appointing co-leads and mentors in the club. So guys, if you all are interested, I'll just circulate a Google form. So you all could just fill in your details, and we'll have a basic interview round. Like it won't be a interview. I'll just interact with you all just to know that how much knowledge you have regarding the web dev area. So if you all have basic knowledge, then you all should definitely apply, because you will. Thanks, Akshansh. Okay. Is it after our end sem? The process of selecting the co-leads, Aman? Yeah. So we'll have it like we'll just appoint the person right now, but the actual duties will start next semester. Like we'll start fresh next semester. So if you are interested, then you should definitely apply, Aman, because we need more people like you to in the club, so that we have more people in web dev. So I'll just circulate the form on the group. So you all just fill it in. People not from our college, that is Symbiosis, cannot apply, but others can. Like you all cannot apply for co-leads, but you all can definitely apply for mentors. Like if you all want to be mentors at the web dev club. I'll have a separate meeting about regarding this when everyone is present. So I'll just end today's session now, guys. It was, you all have been an amazing audience, and I look forward to having another session with you all. Bye, guys. Bye.